So, today I wanted to talk about Megan Thee Stallion's first studio album, Good News. Now, I did do an album review for this, but I did want to just kind of give my thoughts like a couple of months later because I do have such new thoughts. Not only that, but as much as I did like the album, I do think that it is underwhelming and it could have been much better. I do want to talk about this because I just have a big concern about this album because it was just very underwhelming, and Megan Thee Stallion is just such a trailblazing artist. Like, she's just done so much in such a small amount of time. I do just kind of want to have like a conversation about this album and just what's wrong with it, because I just think that there's like a lot of like just misplaced like hate on this on Megan Thee Stallion just in general, and people kind of just, oh, it's the same flow, or it's the same thing, she sounds the same, and that's partially true, but it's partially not at the same time. So I just wanted to sit here and just talk and just get it all out and just get started. But before I do all of that, I do want to say, like, I do love this album. I think it's a good album, but it is definitely very underwhelming, and just the way that the album was just handled, I just don't know what's going on. It was just very weird. We're going to get into everything, but I do want to say I stand by everything that I said in the album review. Like 90% of what I said in the album review, I think right now today. Like, this isn't going to be like I hate the album, now I like the album, or I like the album, now I hate the album. Like, I feel the exact same way about this album. Like, it's a solid album, but for Megan Thee Stallion, it was extremely underwhelming. So let's just get straight into it. So what makes this album just so freakishly underwhelming is simply because of the fact that the sound that I feel like every album, what it should do is it should introduce a new sound while still encompassing what people like about the artist. I think that what the artist has already done should kind of take like a back seat, and then you should be introducing something new while still maintaining what people like, but still introducing new things. And in this album, Good News, I feel like new things were introduced, but they just seemed very inorganic and very forced. Like with songs like Don't Rock Me to Sleep and Intercourse, it was just an extreme, just very weird, awkward curveball. And it was like, what is this? It was just very weird. Megan Thee Stallion literally sounds like a feature on her own song, on her own debut album, on Popcan's song. Like, listening to the song, Megan Thee Stallion didn't sound bad on the song, but it just did not belong on her debut album. She literally just a feature on her own song. It's just weird. Don't Rock Me to Sleep, I like Don't Rock Me to Sleep. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. Do I think the writing on the song is awful? Absolutely. But as far as it being on this album, it just does not belong on this album. I personally don't think that Megan Thee Stallion sounds good on pop records at all, because it's just the way that she raps. She raps very aggressively and just assertively, and she just has like that very old school sound that she sometimes taps into, and it just does not work with pop songs. And Don't Rock Me to Sleep was just an absolute mess. And I was mostly talking about 34 plus 35, because I think that collaboration again, her verse wasn't bad. She just kind of sounded a little out of place. Moving on, I digress. Moving on, let's get into the singles of Good News. Now, first things first, we have Cry Baby. Now, I liked Cry Baby, but the thing about it was that it was just extremely short. It was an extremely short song. The baby comes in, he's the chorus, he's the first verse, and then Megan comes in, then the song ends. It was giving me very, I'ma throw a Hail Mary, you catch the ball, everyone's excited, but then you don't make it to the touchdown, the timer runs out, and we lose the game. Like, I was very excited, it was a very lit song, but then it just ends very too quickly. Not only that, but it just seemed very forced and onto like the TikTok scene. And I don't think artists should be forcing their own songs on TikTok. I think that trends should be happening organically. Like someone should see it and hear your songs and be like, this would be a cool TikTok, versus like, this song just seems very forced. I just don't like when artists go out of their way to like, oh, let's start this TikTok challenge. Like, you should let the people decide that on their own. I understand that TikTok can make a song a hit, but you shouldn't be trying to make it a hit. You should just allow it to, you get it. But anyways, Cry Baby, it just shouldn't have been pushed as a single. I feel like we saw enough of the baby and Megan Thee Stallion with Cash shit. That should have been the single. That should have got a video. Cry Baby just seemed like it just gave me very great value Cash shit. It just was not there all the way. It just was not a complete song. Megan Thee Stallion kind of sounds like a feature on her own song at that as well. It was just very underwhelming. It's very unfortunate because What's New should have been like the single that was pushed, but it just seems like Cry Baby was chosen over it because of TikTok's influence. You know, the Cry Baby dance, and you know, like the baby, like what's your name, and all that stuff got pushed out. So it just seemed like, it's just very unfortunate that TikTok kind of takes influence over some of these albums. Like, there's a lot of just other artists that have really like good songs that a lot of people want to make a single, but it seems like artists just choose whatever is getting picked up by TikTok because it makes sense, because it's getting streams, it's getting numbers. Let me help with those and get it charting, versus this song is actually genuinely good. What's New was a very like new sound. It's really like catchy. The beat is nice. She sounds nice on it. I feel like What's New should have been the perfect single. It wasn't like that southern trap sound that she didn't sound like how all her other songs sound on that song too. Now that would have been good for people to hear, because it's like, oh, that's Megan. Okay, like I could hear people saying like, oh, this is Megan. This is fire. I haven't heard her sound like this. Like, What's New should have been the single that was pushed, but it wasn't. Moving on, we have Movie. I like Movie. Movie was not a bad song. Like, Megan Thee Stallion, some of these songs are not bad songs. It's just an overplayed out sound that she just keeps using over and over again. Like, Movie sounds like Fever, and I love Fever, but Fever happens last year, and the entire album of Fever sounds the same. Then it was cool because it was a mixtape, and we love Megan. We love the Hot Girl Meg introduction sound, because it was so different from like the laid back Tina Snow. It's like Hot Girl Megan, Hot Girl Summer, rah rah rah, like a Dungeon Dragon. I had to. But anyways, we liked that then, but that was the majority of the album. And now in this album, it was fine being on the album, but being pushed as a single, like, hey guys, look what's on my album. It's like, girl, we heard this. And the music video was nothing new. It was just like, I didn't even watch the music video, because it was just like, girl, it was a bunch of people twerking. It was just looking like very much, it looked like a great value Hot Girl Summer to me. Like, the music video wasn't really all that. It wasn't new, it wasn't innovative, it wasn't exciting. Moving on to the other single, Body did everything that it had to do. Body was catchy, it was lit, the music video was lit, the choreography, yada 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 yada, body yada 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 yada, the choreography, yada 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 yada, body crazy curvy wavy big titties little waist, body crazy curvy wavy big titties little waist, body yada 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 yada, was everything. That choreography was the Body. Yes, Megan did, like, Body was an amazing single. Some people say like the body yada yada part is annoying, but it was great. It was catchy. It did what it had to do. Don't Stop, I like to Don't Stop. Now, people were like, the chorus was a shake it, They don't like that part. I liked that part. It was cute. The first verse, the way she opens it up was everything. I think that, like, sonically, it didn't sound like a southern, like, trap song, so that was great. I'm so over like the southern trap, Juicy J. Shut up, I'm so tired of all that. That was literally Fever. I need something new from Megan. And this is just, I was just happy to hear her on like a new kind of beat. I didn't like Young Thug's verse. It wasn't a bad verse. It just didn't add to the song. Like, it didn't make the song better. It was kind of like that stagnant period. It was like, okay, like, you're like jumping and like shaking and like rapping to Megan, and then Young Thug kind of comes on and he just kind of ruins the vibe. I wish there was like a female rapper on here. That would have been a lot better. But other than that, I like Don't Stop. It was very different. It sounds very different, and it was just fire, and it was cute. I like that single. A lot of people say that they didn't like it. It was underwhelming. I think that it was just because Savage Remix went number one, and she did WAP. That went number one, so it was like number ones, and then Don't Stop kind of came out. It was like, it's not a number one, but it was still solid. I liked Don't Stop. It was nice. And Savage Remix, we don't need to talk about her. I'm tired of Savage. Girls in the Hood, we liked Girls in the Hood. It was a sample sound. It was fire. Did what she had to do. Now, as you can see for like those first like three singles, like Savage, Girls in the Hood, and Don't Stop, those were cute. I don't really like count those as like the bulk of the album, because those were like the singles prior to the album coming out. But the singles that was chosen out of the entire album as it came out, those were just terrible single choices. Like Crybaby, I understand like what people were like thinking, or like what her team was probably thinking, because like Cash It was really like big, and then, you know, like Let's Group Up Again, fire song, and which it is fire, but it's just extremely short, and it just depended too much on TikTok to push itself. I feel like it should have just been a track on the album. It shouldn't have been pushed, because I feel like a single just makes people excited about the album, and it just was not exciting enough to be pushed as a single. What's New should have been the single. I already said this, but it's just extremely frustrating because it was such a missed opportunity. Like, this album just did not do a good job on introducing new sounds, because there are new sounds. You have Circles, you have What's New. A lot of people were saying Go Crazy. I don't think Go Crazy should have been a single at all, because it just didn't have like, I mean, it just gave me very Cypher. It just didn't really like all the verses just did not go together. I think it's a cool beat. Megan's like rapping alongside Big Sean. I didn't think she would honestly be capable of doing that, but she held her own with Big Sean, even though, you know, some people consider him mediocre. But I digress. I think Go Crazy, it was okay. I don't think it should have been a single though. But honestly, I would have taken Go Crazy over Cry Baby. Like, Cry Baby was just a sound that I feel like we already heard. It was tired. She was tired. She just needed to take the back seat. And that's all I'm saying about that. What else can we talk about? Do It On The Tip. A lot of people were saying that Do It On The Tip should have been a single as well. I will say Do It On The Tip definitely grew on me, but it just isn't amazing. Like, it's just a very mediocre track. I think it should have stayed exactly where it was. It just wasn't like, oh my god, like such an amazing thing, because it just was not. But what I enjoyed so much about Megan Thee Stallion's previous like bodies of work, I really wish she would have stuck with the template of Sugar. I think that around that time she already had like something of an album together, and what she did was she said that she just took the songs that she really enjoyed and made an EP out of it. And that's just very unfortunate, because I just feel like if she stuck with those songs and added what she had around that time, I feel like she would have had more of a solid album then. Because when Sugar came out, it did what I would expect an album to do, and that's introduce a new sound while still gesturing in things that people like, but the forefront, what's in the front seat, should be new stuff, new sounds. And I think that's exactly what Sugar did with BITCH and Stop Playing and Crying in the Car and What I Need. Like, it was a new fresh sound while she still had, you know, like the old Megan that we liked. Like, Captain Hook sounded like Fever, and it was just enough to be like, hey, like this is the Megan that I like. But it's like, hey guys, I also have this song that's new and it's fresh, and it's something that you haven't heard from me before, but it's still fire as well. And BITCH, it didn't sound forced, it didn't sound organic, it sounded just like Megan Thee Stallion, but like better, which is amazing. BITCH was like that pivotal moment. I think it's like her best song ever. And just that R&B that like she taps into like this old school like rapping flow, and it's so nice. And it was just a breath of fresh air. And it was just like that moment where like Megan Thee Stallion is like very versatile. She's like singing on this, and she has like singing songs on here just like she has it on Fever. And just on Fever and on Sugar, like there's like these moments where she branches off and does different stuff, and it just sounds very organic. She sounds very at home. It sounds very in her element. But it seems like recently, it just seems like she's just doing anything, and it just seems very forced. Like the Pop Can Reggae song sounded forced. Intercourse sound, the Pop Can record sounded very, very forced. Don't Rock Me to Sleep sounded forced. 34 plus 35 sounded forced. Beautiful Mistake sounded forced. Like, just this, it's like they're trying to jam her into like this pop sound, and it just does not work for her. I really wish that they would stick to R&B, even though I know that R&B is kind of like, as far as like charting and being successful, R&B is kind of like a dead genre, unfortunately. But I just don't think that Megan Thee Stallion, with her current sound and the way she sounds, she just does not sound good on pop records. She does nothing for those kind of records. Just the way that she sounds, the way she comes off, she would have to try to do something that she has not done yet in order to be on those kind of rare records and sound good on them. Because personally, to me, it just does not work for her. It just sounds very forced. It sounds very, very inorganic. Like, it just was not it. It was not it at all. And I really wish that there's just no new fresh sounds that are being like, hey, like this is the new sound that I'm trying. And I feel like what's new was like that opportunity. Body was kind of a new sound. Like, I'm not gonna give, like I said, this album is a pretty like, it's a solid album. It didn't hit it out of the park, but it's a solid album. And what makes it gives off the illusion that it's a bad album. And the reason why people were pestering her so much is because of the fact that she was just such a trailblazing year. Like Fever was just a mixtape, and it had the impact that it did, which was insane. Like, Megan Thee Stallion went from underground mixtape to industry household name in like 16 months, which is insane. It's crazy. She's a platinum selling, Grammy winning, #1 having artist in such a short amount of time, and people were really like expecting her to just take off with this album. Like, people were expecting this album to outdo Fever, which is a tall task because Fever was already such a great album. I mean, see, I'm calling it an album, but it was a mixtape. Like, it's crazy that was a mixtape. And I just think that Megan Thee Stallion just had such a strong run, and this album just pales in comparisons to that. It was just very messy. It was very forced. I don't know what's going on in this album. I don't know if there was just like a lot of like industry voices like in her ear, like you have to do like something like this, you have to do something like this. It just didn't seem like she had control. It just seems just very uncomfortable stuff, just these curveballs like the reggae stuff. And Work That was an absolute mess. I don't know why that got on this album. I feel like if it was just cut down to like 15 songs, it would have been better. Because yeah, Intercourse had to go, Work That gotta go. Freaky Girls, it wasn't a bad song. I would keep Freaky Girls, but Work That gotta go. Intercourse gotta go. Don't Rock Me to Sleep gotta go. And there you go. Like, it just was not it at all. But yeah, I think I got off my rant. But that is just why Good News is just underwhelming. I feel like I've just been saying it over and over again. But just overall, it just seems like the sound that Megan Thee Stallion was just going for is just very played out, and she tried to just usher it in again and I just feel like Megan Thee Stallion is more mainstream now as well, and I just feel like that trap southern sound should have just taken a back seat, and it felt like she was still trying to use it as like a flagship for this album, and just was not enough new material on this album that felt and sounded organic. Just seems very uncomfortable, very weird, creatively just all over the place. Just didn't seem like a consistent idea being pushed. It just seemed like a compilation of stuff. And just all in all, a mess. But I will say that Megan Thee Stallion's pen shines through. Like, Megan Thee Stallion is still Megan Thee Stallion. She still has these braggadocious lines and her confidence and just the way she just commands a beat and who she is as an MC. It just shines through. And, you know, some of the darkest moments of this album is still Megan Thee Stallion. And she still deserves her success. And she's still one of the best female rappers out now. Just a trailblazing artist. And her talent still shines through. It's still all a mess. But I just hope that in her next project, she brings forth like a new fresh sound that's true to her. Or maybe she does want to do this pop stuff, but she would have to adopt a new sound or just do something with with that genre that we have not heard before. Because what she currently has in her arsenal just does not do it with pop music. It just does not mesh well. But yeah, these are my thoughts. I want to know, what are y'all thoughts about Megan Thee Stallion, Good News? Like, well, was it good for y'all? What were your favorite songs? And yeah, that's my video. I'm YikesRoman, signing out.